Welcome, everyone. I am Annie Puffett. I am the Director of Career Development here at Upper Iowa University. And tonight we are joined by Brittany McIntyre on our Alumni Speaker Series. So welcome, Brittany. Brittany is a 2015 alum who double majored in psychology and human services, and she is from the online program. Dr. Duffy is not on with us right now, so on behalf of him, I would like to welcome you, Brittany, to our October edition of the Alumni Speaker Series. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and given the line of work that Brittany does, we like to collaborate with her employer and the many resources that are provided to individuals. And so she's going to talk a lot about that tonight, but just wanted to make sure that we welcome you and welcome our individuals watching us online. This session will also be recorded and placed on the university YouTube page and linked to the Alumni Speaker Series page. So Brittany, welcome. I know that there are several things you want to talk about tonight. So first, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Upper Iowa.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me hop on tonight. So I've lived in Northeast Iowa since I was about 5, and all through high school, I went back and forth on where I wanted to go to college, if I wanted like the big city, state school style, if I wanted small. And I was undecided long enough that I just decided to go to community college, and I went to Northeast Iowa Community College for a year and a half. And then after I had done a year and a half there, I was ready to kind of go on, start something new. But at that point, I was established in my apartment. So I decided to transfer to Upper Iowa as a commuter student. And yeah, I did my first year there all on campus in Fayette. But my situation changed throughout that junior year. I got engaged. I started working full time. We ended up buying a house and moving out of the Kelmer area. So I was trying to figure out if I was going to commute an hour to school back and forth, or kind of how I was going to maneuver that. And so I did end up switching to the online program my senior year, which was, I was really fortunate that that was an option and that both of my majors were available that way. And yeah, it worked out really well. I actually loved the online format. It was surprisingly easier to maneuver than I anticipated it was going to be. But yeah, so I went that route and ended up graduating in, I believe June of 2015.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were a double major and you were able to incorporate your degree in many facets of your day-to-day work with helping services. What drew you to this particular career path? And can you talk to us a little bit about helping services and what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like a lot of people that go into the helping professions, personal experience can kind of lead us this route, can send us this way. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. The human services field it's different than like education or nursing, where the route you're going to take when you graduate. And so that was kind of scary, kind of exciting as I maneuvered the options. So I started at helping services right out of college. And I started as an AmeriCorps member. So I did 2 terms with them with AmeriCorps, just as a way to build my resume, as a way to just kind of get some field experience. And I didn't know a lot about the agency when I started. I was in the family education program, working with child abuse prevention. But as soon as I started with the agency and started working with the advocates and learning more about what the resource center did, I knew that was where I wanted to be, that domestic violence and survivor services was kind of what was going to be it for me. And so I stayed on with helping services for a second term, just kind of hoping that a position with the resource center would come available. And, thankfully, when I had 2 months left of my term with them, I was also 7 months pregnant with my second child, but they were still gracious enough to offer me the position with the resource center. So yeah, I finished out my term, went on maternity leave, and came back and haven't looked back. I was doing dating violence advocacy and the volunteer coordination at that point.
So you've had several different roles several different roles within helping services over the course of your time there then. Is that correct in saying?
Yeah, this will technically be my third role, because now I am the dating violence and advocacy coordinator. We just about 2 years ago now, we received a new federal grant that allowed us to expand our team, to add 2 new staff. So I took on coordination of that grant, and the reporting and stuff for that. And with that grant, we were able to add stalking. In the past, we'd always been able to serve stalking victims if the perpetrator was a intimate partner. But now we have the capacity to serve all victims of stalking, whether regardless of who the perpetrator is. So figuring out that role and yeah, just taking it day by day.
All right. I know the main topic of your talk is geared towards domestic violence, since you are the dating violence and stalking advocacy coordinator at the Domestic Abuse Resource Center. You deal with survivors on a daily basis. Can you give a brief overview of the Domestic Violence Resource Center and what advocates do on a regular basis?
Yeah. So explaining what an advocate does on a day-to-day is next to impossible. But one way I explain it when I'm talking to people is that we can assist survivors with anything that is directly or indirectly related to their domestic violence or dating violence situation. So every day is going to look different. We may be in court, doing court support one day, helping them fill out no contact orders or protective orders, being a liaison between them and law enforcement when they're making reports. Maybe financial abuse was one of the things that was, part of that power and control. So maybe one day we're helping a client fill out resumes or update their resume, things like that. We also have a 24-hour crisis line. So we do rotate on call so that one of us is always answering that call line and responding if anything comes in. Maybe we need to respond to law enforcement, respond to the hospital, things like that. But yeah, every day is going to look a little different, but if it's related to that domestic violence, we're going to be helping out in any way that we can.
Okay. We mentioned earlier that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and quite a bit of the work that you do is regarding prevention and education. Can you tell us why it's so important that we recognize this and what people can do to show their support during October and throughout the year in general, actually?
Yeah, so it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that's just a time that we can recognize, we can talk about these issues. Because they're not something that people like to talk about, that we go out of our way to talk about. Thankfully, I feel like we are stepping in the right direction. But domestic violence is happening everywhere, regardless of your race, sex, orientation, things like that. And it's something that we all need to be cognizant of. We all need to be able to recognize and respond to, because your friends, your neighbors, your sister, anybody could be a victim or a perpetrator. So being aware of what resources are available to them, and just being willing to listen and support, and most importantly, believe them is going to be huge in that survivor's, situation and their story and their progress. So we just want people to have the knowledge and the information that they need to be a good support for those people.
I know that one of Helping Services partners is Upper Iowa University. You guys partner with us quite a bit regarding a lot of the different programming. Can you talk about some of the programming efforts that you guys have done on campus to encourage prevention and education?
Yeah, so we partnered a lot when you guys had the Project Stand Up grant. Every year we were doing different programming, in at least one in the spring and one in the fall semester. We were doing things called like the escalation workshop, which is a workshop that's completely regarding dating violence, and specifically on college campuses. Just a couple weeks ago, I was in and we did the In Their Shoes with students, which is a dating violence simulation that we had a bunch of first-year students go through. I believe we actually had like 106 students come through, so that was awesome. On Friday, actually, my coworker and I are going to be going into a criminal justice class and talking about law enforcement response to dating violence and domestic violence. So we're just so appreciative of counseling services and career services, the teachers that are recognizing this issue and allowing us the ability to come on and connect with these students. Because, you know, it's the best way to get the word out there and to have those conversations. So we're really appreciative of that collaboration.
Absolutely, as are we within the particular positions that we have here that collaborate with you. What are some, speaking of collaboration, we have had a lot of students go and do opportunities with helping services to kind of gain a little bit more experience. What are some ways that people can connect with your office as they look to gain experiences in these helping professions, such as human services and psychology, sociology, you mentioned criminal justice, or even other majors that you guys have connections with that can help prepare them for their future careers?
Yeah, I mean, so with the first part of that question, you know, connecting with us, the best way is going to be on our website. And we do have, you know, or a resource line, sorry. And we do have a ton of volunteer opportunities available. We also have, you know, internships. We've had plenty of interns from Upper Iowa. You know, most of the time our volunteers take our crisis line. And typically that's after hours. But we're open to being flexible with kind of whatever would work with that volunteer. To be a volunteer or to do an internship with the Resource Center specifically, there is a training requirement, which is 20 hours. It's done all online through the Iowa Coalition Against Domestic Violence. But yeah, once you get that done, you can work directly with our clients, whether that be, again, answering our line. Maybe they need transportation to shelter, transportation to the hospital. Maybe they just need somebody to sit and support them while they're in the hospital. We have volunteers that can do that. You know, a lot of our volunteers too is around awareness events and fundraising and food drives, pantry drives. Right now, as early as it seems, we're in the swing of our giving project, which we do every November and December, which connects donors with our clients for Christmas gifts. And every year for as long as I've been a part of the agency, Upper Iowa has taken on a good chunk of our clients and has always been super gracious with their giving. So if students are willing to step up and take a part of that, I mean, it all helps, it all makes a difference, and our clients are super appreciative of all that. I can't remember the second part of that question.
How can these types of opportunities help them for their future career?
Oh, just getting that firsthand experience, kind of building that connection with the work, I think too, you know, giving and showing, you know, making an impact, I think kind of gears you towards what you want to do in life. That hands-on experience of seeing what the day-to-day life is going to look like if you take on an internship, or even not a, you know, a formal internship, but maybe a few day job shadow, something like that, just to see what it's like. Because again, there are a lot of different avenues you can take with these different career choices that kind of led people into advocacy. So getting your foot in the door a couple different places and getting a feel for it before you graduate is gonna help navigate the application and the hiring process as you make those decisions.
Right. Obviously, the Office of Career Development can help students get connected with helping services in any of these volunteer internship opportunities. But if students want to reach out to you directly, can they just go to the Helping Services website or look for the hotline phone number that you mentioned?
Yep. So if you go to our website, right on the top, there is going to be our crisis line number. So you can call that number 800-383-2988. And that's going to connect you with one of us advocates, and we can discuss different opportunities. We can also connect you with our supervisor, who is going to kind of coordinate the internship. We also have a chat option on our website. So if you just have questions about, you know, what an internship or what they would entail, you can reach out to us that way. Or, you know, if you want to reach out to me directly, I can definitely connect with you and get you connected with our volunteer coordinator as well. So any of those routes, and we will get you where you need to be.
All right, thank you. You talked a little bit about the volunteer and internship opportunities that can kind of help lead to strengths and leadership qualities, which goes into my next question. What are 2 or 3 strengths or leadership qualities that you see in people working in your field? And what are ways that students and alums can develop those skills, strengths, or qualities?
the two that always come to mind for me are empathy and compassion. Being willing to put yourself into the shoes of these clients and understanding, you know, their experience and the empathizing with them, validating what they're going through is going to be huge. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone when you get in these positions. So, you know, that can obviously be uncomfortable for people, but making that decision and showing that compassion, showing that empathy, listening skills. I don't know, I can't explain how much of our job is just listening and not responding, or, you know, just responding as minimally as possible and just listening to their story, listening to their experience, and letting them guide that conversation, because they obviously know their situation so much better than anybody else is going to. So just being willing to sit with those conversations and let them have that opportunity is going to be super impactful for them too, as well. Also, one other thing too is recognizing any biases you might have as you go into this field when you're building your compassion. And, you know, we all have biases. They're all there, but recognizing them, being aware of them so that you can work on them, you can identify them when a situation arises. Because in the human services field, you're going to work with people from all walks of life. You're going to work with people that, you know, you may not connect with on a day-to-day basis. So just having that awareness of that and being cognizant of it is going to be super helpful.
Wonderful, thank you. Within the Office of Career Development, we belong to NACE. It's the National Association for Colleges and Employers. And they have identified career readiness as a hot topic within higher education and hiring professionals. And so we have a number of competencies that we try and instill in our students as they are going through their time here at Upper Iowa. What competencies do you feel are most important in helping one excel in their career goals, and why?
So of the 8, the one that stood out to me first, and I think it would stand out in any career, is communication. You're always going to be interacting with people. You're always going to be interacting with clients, with team members, with directors, community members. And so just being willing to have those conversations, being willing to have conversations that may not be comfortable to you, being willing to deal with conflict within your workforce and work with communication. So yeah, I think that one is definitely number 1 for me. And again, that's for, I think, all facets. And then with human services and psychology specifically, the other one that really stood out to me was, again, equity and inclusion, because you're going to be working with people that you don't always work with on the day-to-day basis. And we want to be as inclusive as we can, with who we serve, with how we do our outreach, with how we format and do our resources that we provide to people. And, you know, we want everybody to know that there's welcoming services available to them, regardless of their age, regardless of their sex, regardless of their orientation. You know, we're here, we're willing and able to support them. So that one definitely stood out to me as well.
How would you encourage others to improve upon those skills and competencies?
I mean, that goes back to kind of what I talked about before, is, you know, being willing to have those conversations, those uncomfortable ones, asking for feedback. I think getting comfortable with getting constructive criticism and, you know, proactive getting feedback from friends, from team members, from whoever you're working with at the time as you try and work on these is going to be huge, because they're going to pick up on things that we may not pick up on ourselves. Reaching out to other people that are in the field, asking questions about, you know, what it is they do, what their day-to-day looks like, being willing to do a job shadow so that you're getting that hands-on experience, or, you know, doing that more formal internship so that you've got an idea of kind of what the expectations are, what the day-to-day looks like, and kind of seeing hands-on and firsthand what those competencies look like.
All right. Do you have any final pieces of advice tonight that you would give to UIU students, alums, the university community that might be watching or may watch this recording at a later time?
Yeah, I guess first is just thank you for like bringing awareness to this, because it's, again, it's not something that's talked about super regularly. And, it's something that, again, it's going to be happening. It's happening all around us. So it's important that people are willing to listen, that they're willing to support them, that they're willing to believe people if they are, brave enough to disclose. And, if you're worried about somebody, or you have concerns about somebody's relationship and you haven't approached that person directly, give us a call. Like, our 800 number is for survivors, but it's also for support people as well. If you want to run a situation by us, if you want to get some advice on how to approach this person, utilize us in any facet that you can. We're there to support, everybody involved in the situation. And, otherwise, again, I just am really appreciative that you were allowing us to come on and talk about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I am so thankful again that Upper Iowa lets us have such a good collaboration between us and the university. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you. I will be dropping the website in the comment section of Facebook on this live. So I'll be dropping that in there so that if individuals want to get involved in volunteer opportunities or internship opportunities, or find ways that they can get involved, they will have that website that they are able to connect with you or Kathleen or anybody else over at Helping Services to be able to get involved. So again, I would like to thank Brittany tonight for joining us for our alumni speaker series. And we hope that individuals will tune in next month when we are joined by another alum. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.